Happy birthday, Johnny. John Ono Lennon, born John Winston Lennon, October 9th, 1940. What can I say, man? John Lennon. John Lennon. I could go through 100 books here. I Magazine. Cover of I Magazine. It was kind of a Condé Nast, I think, or Hearst publication in 1968. Very first issue. John was on the cover. It came with a poster on the inside. Kind of a fashion-y type of magazine, going for the pop, swinging Carnaby Street, London side of America. That kind of feel of Twiggy and everything, but trying to get into the whole pop thing. Beautiful book, Imagine, John and Yoko. This came out this past last year with the Imagine reissues and everything. I got tons of books here. I could go on for days, but you know I'm not going to go on for days. John Lennon. This is kind of a beautiful book. Yoko has a great design sense with the John Lennon art books. His art, his work. There you go there. There you go there. Oh God, I could go on and on. Do you want me to go on and on? Of course you do, but I'm not. Let me see if there's anything. I do have one book. Can't find it right now. It's the most bizarre John Lennon book I have. It's an interview book. It's an interview with John Lennon. However, the interview took place after he died. So it's an interview by a medium channeling John Lennon. And then there's obviously various versions I have of John Lennon Remembers, the infamous Rolling Stone 1970 interview that Jan Wenner did with John Lennon, and then John Lennon got all pissed when he turned it into a book. Rightly so, because that wasn't the agreement. Oh God, there's so many. What else here? Less John Lennon tapes, John Lennon in his own words, Cynthia Lennon about John Lennon. I read the news today, oh boy. Oh, the Lennon Companion. Let's see here. One of the last interviews, the John Lennon Playboy interviews, David Sheff did for Playboy. And what else can I say? So let's look at some records. Let's look at some John Lennon records. John Lennon's Single Bag, a record store day singles. This has Mother with Yoko Ono's Why. It's got Imagine with It's So Hard. And Watching the Wheels with Yes, I'm Your Angel by Yoko Ono. So a John and Yoko extravaganza, 45 wise. And then, boy, let's just go through should we go through the catalog a little bit? Oh. Live Piece in Toronto. This originally came with, where is it? The original version of that came with this John and Yoko calendar. Many pages. So it was kind of ungodly the way, not ungodly, that's the wrong word. It was sort of I can't do it with one hand. That's what she said. John and Yoko. It came sealed with this, even with that spiral-bound wrap. Live Piece of Toronto, Alan White on drums, Eric Clapton on guitar. Side one covers of Blue Suede Shoes, Money, Dizzy Miss Lizzie, Your Blues, Cold Turkey, Give Peace a Chance, and side two is Don't Worry Kyoko, Mummies, Only Waiting for a Hand in the Snow. Avant-garde, Yoko, Wailing Away. I'm a fan of Yoko, so another copy. That's a UK copy, I believe, and this is a French copy. French copy. I got. I never took the seal off, but remember, in Europe they never released sealed albums in the day. When they're imported here, they were sealed and loosely shrink wrapped for consumption, American consumption. Plastic Ono Band. Another copy of that. We know Imagine. More Imagine, more Imagine. Imagine with Outtakes, the reissue that came out last year. This is John Lennon Imagine, raw studio mixes. And then there's probably what some consider his worst album. It's Sometime in New York City, but it's got some great tracks. It's John and Yoko alternating songs. There's some really good stuff, even some of the Yoko things. So as bad as it is, there's some gems on here. John Sinclair, Luck of the Irish is a great protest song. And then the second disc is On Stage Live at the Fillmore with Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention. And then we get into Mind Games. Didn't like the original sound of this record. There's a remix on CD that came out about a decade ago or so. I think it's much better. So, shall we see more? Of course, you want to see more. Another Mind Games. There we go. Mind Games. Mind Games. Mind Games. Mind Games. Different issues, different labels, different versions. Now, a mid-period Lennon favorite of mine, 1975, Walls and Bridges. I love this record a lot. And it had that duet with Elton John, Whatever Gets You Through the Night, that hit #1. And Elton John had a bet with John Lennon. He said, if this single gets to #1, you have to play on stage with me. And then there's a single live version of John and Elton doing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds on stage at Madison Square Gardens, I believe. And I saw her standing there live. And that's on a single and B-sides things. More copies of that. Then the problematic 60s cover, 50s, 60s cover album of oldies that Phil Spector started and then stopped and started. Not a great sound except for Stand By Me. I don't like the sound of this, but I love that Jürgen Vollmer cover photograph of John Lennon. It's a great photograph. But I didn't like the sound of this record. I think they missed the boat on that. This is a reissue, a bizarre reissue, a British later budget reissue with a different cover. They raised did a large logo there, so there you go on that. Okay, 2 copies, 1 boot, 1 actual thing. John Lennon had an agreement with the producer to put out, there was a lawsuit, and the settlement part of the lawsuit of using, I believe, was it in Come Together with the lyrics of Chuck Berry? I'm confusing my lawsuits, and if I am, you Beatle freaks beyond me will remember that. But this came out as a sort of a K-Tel type order on TV type collection of John Lennon doing the oldies. Sings the great rock and roll hits, Roots. And it's a lot of the Phil Spector cuts before rock and roll came out. And there's an injunction on it, so I believe maybe both of these are real. One's a real, I think, and one's a boot of the real thing. But if you see it, pick it up. It's fun collectible. Then the first, when John Lennon went to semi-retirement, 75, 76-ish, 75 came out, Shaved Fish. Love this Lennon penned cover. But it's got a lot of the singles, Power of the People, Instant Karma, Cold Turkey, Give Peace a Chance. And then Woman is the Nigger of the World, Mother, Imagine, Whatever Gets You the Night. Mind Games, number 9 Dream, Happy Christmas, War is Over. Number 9 Dream has always been a favorite of mine. That's on Walls and Bridges. Another copy. And of course, the comeback years, 1980. Geffen signs them. I think only the second act. Geffen starts his own label after leaving Asylum Records. And I think he had just signed, I don't know who was first, but I think Donna Summer might have been first. Then, of course, he gets this album that comes out, a month before John was killed. And you all know that. I love this love poem, in a way. It's kind of a love back and forth relationship album of John and Yoko. And I remember when I got the 12-inch single of this. I got this before the record came out. the single, just like Starting Over. It's 12-inch 45. It sounds incredible. But you know what really blew me away? Think of this, 1980. John Lennon like hears the B-52s and starts, you know, thinking and screaming to the world. They finally get, they're doing Yoko Ono. And in a way they were. Rock Lobster is so Yoko Ono influenced. And the B-side of this, the 12-inch version of Kiss Kiss Kiss, which is on the album, and it's incredible. The drums, the guitar, and the orgasm, the Japanese orgasm at the end of this track is to me one of my favorites. I am a Yoko fan. I've admitted that. I didn't have to go through rehab to decide that from day one. I love Yoko Ono. I love her music. I love her art, the whole Fluxus movement. You know, we can debate that. I'm not going to debate it with you. You can move on to something else if you don't get it. Fine, it's not for everybody. But 1980, in a way, her work at the time in 1980, December 1980, November was more contemporary and topical, not topical, but current than what John was doing in a way in that time when punk and new wave, post-punk, heavy drum beats were happening. So I love that. But then again, Woman, what a great, great song, and Beautiful Boy. Two amazing songs that could have been on any Beatles record in the late period of the Beatles. So, some loose slicks, promo slicks from record store days of the cover. And then a Super Disc Double Fantasy. I don't even think I even listened to this one. And then there's Milk and Honey, the posthumous release. Tracks that were not quite finished that John worked with Jack Douglas in the studio and Yoko Ono. Of course, this has a single, I'm Stepping Out, and I don't want to face it, no one told me there'd be days like this. That was kind of the single. Not quite finished, not a perfect record, but we all sort of, we wanted more John, and we missed him deeply, and this kind of soothed us a bit to that. And then this is a cool record. It's almost like an acoustic-y record of demos called Men Love Avenue. Men Love Avenue is the house where John grew up with his Aunt Mimi in Liverpool. And here we go again, Rock and Roll People, Angel Baby. Has a couple of tracks that were left off the Phil Spector Oldies album. Steel and Glass and Scared. They're different sort of demo works in progress versions. Bless You. Beautiful Andy Warhol artwork on the cover. And then, of course, not in any particular order, they finally released John Lennon live in New York City, Madison Square Gardens. It's just a one-to-one show with the Elephant Memory Band. I never liked them with John personally, but this is still a cool record. Hey, it's his birthday. We're going on. We're going to continue here. Another copy of that. Nobody Told Me, wordplay. Nobody Told Me, No Sanity, 12-inch singles. Oh, this is the wordplay. Hard play, unfinished dialogue, spoken word documentary, John and Yoko. You know, there's those doubters and those people thought Yoko would turn into the cash cow of John Lennon trying to release stuff, but there's a thirst for his fans to get this kind of music and dialogue and releases. So again, it's not for everyone. If you don't like it, fuck it. I love this stuff, and there's a time for listening to these kind of records. Obviously now everything is on the internet, so you can really find a lot of things there. But remember, this was 1983, only 3 years after John died. And then another, Geffen finally does actually a good greatest hits. He got rights from the Capitol catalog from John and Yoko, as well as his. And this is a beautiful photography by Annie Leibovitz, who did the final shot. This photograph was taken by Annie Leibovitz the afternoon that John was killed. And then Rolling Stone put it on the cover. Wasn't really meant for the cover, but it was the perfect cover, I think. But this is a really good greatest hits. Obviously, over the years, over the almost 40 years now, or has it been more than 40? Whatever it's been, right? Almost 40 years. There's been several best of and anthologies, but this is one of my favorites, actually. John Lennon, Happy Christmas, War is Over, with Beautiful Boy, 12-inch single. John Lennon, Imagine, the Imagine movie. Now, this is a record I recommend. If you see it, pick it up. Even if you have all this stuff, for whatever reason, the mastering on this is excellent. It sounds great. There are Beatles songs. There's Twist and Shout, Help, In My Life, Strawberry Fields, Day in the Life, Revolution, Give Peace a Chance, and How, Imagine, God, Mother, Jealous Guy, Woman, amongst other songs. But I remember the quality, the mastering of this is an amazing sounding record. So it's one of the better sounding comps. Comps aren't always great sounding, but I highly suggest if you see it, say something and buy it. Say, I want this, here is my money, buy it. The Imagine soundtrack. It's sold to Andrew Salt, actually. Documentary he did on John Lennon back in late 80s? I don't remember. But there's been so many documentaries. 1988, there's a documentary you can get on video. Anything's worth it to see all the footage. Another Christmas, and then a very special limited vinyl release. This is during when CDs were king, and I picked this up, and it's another great collection. This is when he went back to a Parlophone. It's a Parlophone, the very best John Lennon, another double with the usual suspects. I don't need to name all the songs, but you know it. So any of these comps are pretty good. But of course, I'm going to suggest you get the core catalog. Now, remember I talked about that bet Elton John and John Lennon had, if Whatever Gets You Through the Night hits #1. This is the Elton John band with John Lennon, that live show. I saw her sitting there, Whatever Gets You Through the Night, and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And John Lennon sang with them 3 songs on stage. And the Muscle Shoals Horns, and I believe this is, Madison Square Gardens, November 28th, 1974. And this was when Thanksgiving weekend, I believe, and when John and Yoko were sort of reimagined, but after John's crazy year-long LA fuck-up, lost weekend, him and Yoko kind of rejoined their relationship and got back together this night at Madison Square Gardens. John Lennon, import, Your Hands Never Say Goodbye from Milk and Honey, John and Yoko, another 12-inch single. Another ridiculous Milk and Honey picture disc. As I said before, picture discs are not to be played, they're just for collecting. Stick them on your fucking wall, but don't play them because they sound terrible. Another maxi single, not to be confused with a maxi pad. And this is another 12-inch single, Give Peace a Chance, and Remember Love on Apple. I think this is a UK, is it? UK edition? Canadian edition. There you go. Apple. I'm Stepping Out, 12-inch. With Loneliness by Yoko Ono, Sleepless Nights by Yoko Ono, John Lennon, Imagine, Working Class Hero, a 12-inch maxi single, 12-inch. You want to see more, don't you? We don't want to get in the bootlegs. Listen to this picture disc, Apple Records. What else? I think pretty much everything else now is bootlegs, except There was a limited edition Imagine record on white vinyl box set that came out in 2011. And what it is, stand by everybody. It's the album, the regular album remixed, the full poster, and it's got a second disc of sessions. And I'm not going to even get into the box sets of the CD outtakes and things because those are gorgeous, but we're just going to keep with the records. And this is beautiful because it's, you know, Yoko, everything John and Yoko is about white. Minimalist, white. Outtakes with Jealous Guy, Oh My Love, I Don't Want to Be a Soldier. A lot of this stuff, a thing that I highly recommend is last year's Imagine box set with the Blu-ray and surround and the stems and instrumentations and the background orchestration. I don't have it here, it's upstairs, it's in the other room with my compact discs and box sets, but that Imagine set is a stunningly beautiful sounding collection. It's kind of the equivalent of what's going on with those remasters of Abbey Road and Sgt. Pepper, and you know, I'm not a big fan of those remixes, but I sure love the outtakes and the progression of making the records. So that is that box set, and of course this is the wonderful poster that comes with Imagine. And this was photographed in the living room at Tittenhurst Park, the house that John and Yoko owned. And if you've seen the Imagine film, it's where Yoko is opening up the shades as John is playing that beautiful version of Imagine. An import box set, catalog, full catalog. This came out, I think, in the 80s as well. It's basically everything from Live Peace in Toronto through Shaved Fish. I don't need to really go through every record because you kind of saw the other versions of it. Has a little booklet as well. There you go. And then, of course, for the completest, the John Lennon catalog yet again. They make us buy these things over and over and over. They don't make us, but the completest, like Mazzy, needs these things. So that's kind of the John Lennon. That's the John Lennon collection. Because I got John Lennon Fever. I got John Lennon Rock and Roll. I got John Lennon. I got War Is Over, If You Want It. I got a rock and roll John Lennon promo comb. If I don't have any hair, I can... It's on my head. John Lennon bobblehead, 1964. I kind of want to keep showing you things, but John Lennon and the Rock and Roll Circus. Anyway, you know, John Lennon is someone that inspired me a lot. Cantankerous guy, son of a bitch he could be, horrible drunk, but look what John Lennon gave us, and the Beatles. So thanks VC for spending time watching my my video showcasing some of my vinyl John Lennon records.